It would seem as though.
Oh, hi.
Hello.
How's it going?
Well, I'm here.
Barely.
That's about all I got today is I'm here.
Girl,
know.
Listen.
know.
When you asked me yesterday, are you going to be up for doing it tomorrow? I said, yeah, before I even thought about it. And then I was all, probably not.
Right.
But
well,
here I am.
By looking at you yesterday, I was like, she's not up for this.
No. And this morning I didn't really feel like it. But here's the thing. It's just us talking. You know what I mean? I wouldn't say anything differently whether we were recording it or not. You know what I mean?
That's true.
So at least, we're hanging out. I
Yeah.
haven't seen you since whatever day. Thursday, really?
Yeah.
Friday. No, I saw you Friday.
Yeah. Friday. So welcome to another episode of It Would Seem As Though, the podcast where we talk about anything, everything, and nothing.
Mostly nothing.
I'm Vesta.
I'm Annika.
And I'm exhausted.
Girl.
I know I say that all the time,
Yeah.
but you know how rich white women check into the hospital for exhaustion?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I get it.
Mm-hmm.
I get it.
Girl.
Although what I don't get is how does that make it better?
It doesn't.
Hospitals are the worst place when you're exhausted.
Maybe not if you're rich.
Maybe
you get
like
Did
a
you watch
sweet...
all of American Housewife? Do you remember when Ali Wong had a baby? And it was Christmas time?
Okay. Yeah.
Girl,
all
she had a fireplace in her room, honey.
If I had Ali Wong's suite, where it was like you had a fireplace and like they turned the lights off and people didn't bother you.
Yeah,
and
a
you had
luxury hotel hospital.
Because I know every time I've been in the hospital, one, the lights are never turned all the way off. So there's always that light from somewhere. Yeah. And people are always coming in and out at all times of the night.
Yeah.
Like to check your vitals.
Yeah.
In fact, one of the times, I think it was one of the times I was in because I was in AFib and they had to cardiovert me. They made me get up in the middle of the night to weigh me. And I'm like,
¿Por qué?
do you think it was different at 4 o'clock in the morning than it was when
why did they do that?
Why?
Like you've just
That's just mean.
You either lost weight
First
or
of all, you're
gained
putting
weight.
a fat bitch on the scale anyway. That's mean.
In the middle, you're waking up.
I'm triggered.
Hey fatty, wake up! I need you to stand on this scale.
I want to see if you're as fat as you were when you went to sleep.
Rude.
Because I didn't believe that you were really as fat as it said you were on your chart. I don't remember if I ever told you this. I feel like I did. But the very first time I had to be cardioverted.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you don't know what that means it's that, you know, in TV shows and movies when
Clear.
they put the little things on you and go, clear, and poof, and restart your heart. It's not that dramatic. They do put the little stickers on you and it does restart your heart, but it's never the little paddle. I mean, not maybe out in the wild it is.
Do you know why they say clear so you don't touch the body?
Yeah, so nobody else touches you.
Right.
It'll shock the shit out of you.
Right. It's funny how they do it so quickly because you're supposed to say, like, everybody clear, right? Because I just did all this training for the state, whatever. But that's funny because I always thought it had something to do, like you're yelling at the electricity. I don't really know.
But the first time it had to be done was the very first time I ever went into AFib.
Okay.
And I went to the hospital thinking I was dying. And then they took me by ambulance to another hospital.
Yeah.
And I'm in the hospital room not knowing what's happening, really.
Sure.
And this doctor, this little teeny tiny Asian woman, walks in reading my chart. And so she's looking at the chart, not looking at me. And she looks up and goes, "Oh, you're fat."
Oh, my God.
You didn't get that from the chart.
Bitch, what the fuck?
It said my height and weight on the chart.
Uh-huh.
And unless you can't do the math that she's, 5'8" and that weight,
girl, her spatial awareness is bad.
But
She doesn't have any idea.
Unless I was 12 feet tall, I'm fat. It's like, you stretch me out like they did in, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah.
Maybe I wouldn't be fat, but I'm fat.
Girl, whatever.
Come on. But it was just like, oh, you're fat. And it's like, oh, you're a genius.
Yeah. Also, your bedside manner, you fucking cunt. Like, excuse me?
Right.
Sorry.
And the only reason I bring up the point that she was Asian is because my friend Maria, when she was having dresses custom made, she was having them made by this shop in China where you just send them, it's like, I want this fabric, this color, You know, because you could pick, from their website.
Yeah.
I want this cut, this fabric, this blah, 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 blah. And then you send them your measurements. They sent her back her money saying, these can't possibly be your measurements. Like, nobody's this fat.
Crazy.
It's like, I get that in China, nobody is this fat because you're all tiny people.
Yeah.
But in America, we are this fat.
Yeah.
We're fat people.
It is very different. I mean, it also just, because, I mean, in America, in Western culture, there are more fat people than a lot of other cultures. But I think there's a lot of factors. Capitalism, you know, consumerism, whatever. But also, like, some other countries don't. They are sustenance farmers, or, you know what I mean? They're growing what they need. And here, we have a billion options. Everything's accessible. Do you know what I mean? And, like, everything they put in our food and water anyway is giving us an illness, which then affects our weight, affects our mentality. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
So I don't, it's interesting.
Yeah. Well, but that was just like, really?
I would have been offended as fuck.
But back to the exhaustion.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, somebody said to me yesterday, actually it was my sister-in-law said to me, she's like, you just need a vacation. Well, can you facilitate that?
Yeah.
Can you figure out a way that I can go away and all of my jobs will be covered? Mm-hmm. You know, someone will take my children to and from school and make sure they have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Someone will take care of my mother and make sure that she has all the things she needs. You know, someone will be here to take care of my dogs. You know, whatever. It's like, that's a cute story. And I love that. The only way that would happen is if my husband took vacation.
Yeah.
You know, whatever.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, going on vacation with your children is a vacation, but also no.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, that's just it. I would have to have, like, when we went to the beach, that, even though it was only 2 days, that was a little vacation.
Girl, of course it was. It was amazing.
Yeah, it was great. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
And it was actually a break. It was the first time in a really long time I ever felt like I had a real break.
Yeah.
Because it was just grown folk doing fuck nothing.
Yeah, talking, shooting the shit. Yeah, being silly, doing drugs, being goofy. You know how we do it.
Being absolute idiots and having a great time.
Having a great time, yeah. But, I mean, I get that. So, like, when we go to Disneyland, it's going to be, yes, a vacation because you don't have everything else, but your children will still be there.
Yeah.
And they are still needy children.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
But the nice thing is I won't have to make them any meals.
Right, exactly, right?
You know.
You don't also have to, like, tell them to get the dogs or do the dishes or take out the garbage. Like, none of that.
Right.
For 10 days, bitch. So,
well, and now what'll be different from any other time that we've gone is they will have their little smartwatches. Mm-hmm. So their tether will be a little bit longer.
Okay.
So I can be like, okay, you can go to this little store.
Yeah.
And I will text you where we are, whatever.
Yeah.
And that's more about me giving them a longer leash because I've always been so overprotective.
Uh-huh.
So that's...
I betcha. I know. Well,
I know.
But, girl, it's also hard.
I know.
What's funny to me is... just, like, the things we did when I was younger, you know what I mean? Comparatively to, like, how you raised your children. Not bad. I just feel like I feel like I was treated like an adult. Like a grown-up for so much of it. And not in a bad way, right? I wasn't, like, made to grow up. I was just so mature. But I didn't like other children. I wanted to be around adults. So it's just really interesting seeing the interactions we had when I was younger versus the interactions you have with them, you know? And maybe it was because, like, you weren't, like, my technical, like, parent that I lived with all the time and saw, you know? And maybe I would have hated you. I don't know. But
you were different, though. You were so mature. You know, you always felt older to me.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know.
No, I know, but it's cute.
But I also didn't tell you could walk from my house anywhere by yourself.
Oh, God, absolutely not. Never.
You know, so... But, I know.
It's not bad, girl. I don't want you to feel like it's a bad thing. I think it's cute. It is cute. Like, you got that parent cap on and you're not going anywhere.
Right.
Unless I know. And that's like how you and I were both raised by her.
Yeah.
You know, by her.
I know. What's kind of funny is it makes me think of the story of when your sister came and stayed at my house, and for breakfast, you know, she was like, "Can I have birthday cake for breakfast?" I was like, "I don't care."
Yeah.
You know, it's in the fridge. We had it yesterday. Whatever. It's, you know, it's basically just pancakes with a little extra sugar.
Whatever.
And she's like, "Oh, I wish I lived here." And I was like, "No, you don't, because if you lived here, you would have chores, you would have rules, you would have, you know, blah, blah, blah. You would have a routine. It wouldn't be like this. This is a little vacation for you. So you don't have, you know, you still have rules, mind you, but not like that."
Totally. I get that.
And as soon as I know this story, I have a little something to say, a little juicy gossip.
Oh, I can't wait.
Anyway.
On the air.
On the air. But it was like, yeah, no, it wouldn't be, fun auntie if you lived here. There would be,
Yeah, because we were like 12, 13. We were like young. Yeah. That's so silly.
Yeah. So, speaking of my sister-in-law who came into my salon yesterday, she said, did you see Joanna's post? And Joanna would be the sister we were just talking about, her mother.
Yeah, she's my technical stepmother.
Right. So apparently, she almost died again.
Oh my fucking God.
So allegedly she stopped drinking and drugging.
Great.
Again.
Oh my Jesus.
And almost died again.
Blah, blah.
But is on the Facebooks asking for money because she's trying to get away from your birth father again. And it's like, really? My thought, of course, is how many times?
Girl, let me tell you, because I can't stand, and I've talked about this openly. I don't care to who. I've talked about it on the podcast, but I can't stand my birth father or my stepmother literally at all. And she does this. She's always, how many times she has said in my life that she's dying, she's had a heart attack, or she's had a stroke, or she has a blood clot, or X, Y, and fucking Z, or she's going into like diabetic coma, or whatever.
Exactly.
She's always dying, and so it's like the boy who cried wolf, but also I have, and this is ugly, but bitch, walk in my shoes with that bitch. I have no sympathy. Die already. Then lay down, ho. I don't give a fuck. Here's the other thing. My birth father, again, I've talked about this openly, is a piece of shit. And, like, the fact that she has stayed with him for, 20 plus years at this point? You know what I mean? I was 8, maybe, 7 years old when they got married. And how old am I now? 34? A long fucking time. And you didn't see, you witnessed how he treated us. You witnessed all the bullshit he did to everybody. He treated, like, even out, granted, Carlton is a very small place, but my biological father would talk shit to other adults in public. And I remember even how he treated my stepmom at, like, a Christmas pageant or program, whatever, at the elementary school. And,
oh, yeah.
All the parents are there, whatever. And my stepmom said something, and mind you, she's an annoying, awful cunt of a human being, but he looked at her, and he just, like, scolded her, like, berated her.
Yeah.
In the middle of this gymnasium for a Christmas program, like, around a bunch of people. Granted, the program hadn't started. It doesn't matter. If anyone ever spoke to me like that in public, I would sock them in the throat and walk out, But the fact that she is dying again, or wanting to leave my biological father, or what the fuck ever, I'm not shook, and this is a pattern, and she keeps doing, it's the same thing over and over and over.
Oh yeah.
And if you listen, if she had an actual illness that was terminal, and she was like, well, I might be dying, different. But you even know people who are terminal, who don't say, oh, I'm dying right now, and then they live, and then they're dying again. You know what I mean? Like, even though that would be more acceptable, they're not focusing on that. This crazy bitch just sucks up all of the air in the room and wants the attention, and she wants everyone to feel bad for her. And I don't get that. You want pity that bad? That is, nauseating.
Exactly.
Also, that picture you just showed me, it's of her. Bitch, all I'm going to say is, when did she get the role as the Crypt Keeper, bitch? When? White trash Crypt Keeper with her fucking blonde... her grow out and blonde weave. I don't fucking know what's happening. Trailer trash Betty. I can't.
Oh, no.
Sorry. You got me.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. I don't know what you're talking about. Anyway.
Oh, I do not know. I do know, however, that the other day at work.
Yeah.
Somebody, I'm not going to mention names, but one of my coworkers was talking about how one of the people that she works with at her second job was listening to music, but she doesn't understand the music because it's all in Mexican. And that was all... Really?
I hate that.
You mean Spanish?
Yeah.
Because Mexican's not a language.
Sure isn't.
Mexican is...
a nationality.
A nationality, not a language. I was like, you've got to be kidding me.
That is... And it's funny because I just wish I knew who you were talking about. But
I know, it's hard to know because I have so many coworkers.
if it's who I think it is, it's so funny because she and her children tout this like progressive ideology. Like they are so progressive and they understand the plight of marginalized people as white people from fucking Oregon City, and whatever. But they're so dumb. It is shocking to me how dumb they are because they tout being so woke, yeah. And woke isn't, look, and when people say you woke, they're always like, ooh, woke. But I don't care. Like, if you say you're woke and you actually are, but anyone who isn't calling themselves woke. I don't call myself woke.
No.
Gross. But yeah, no. It's interesting, that dichotomy of being so, like, socially stupid and just, like, about race relations and queer things, you know what I mean? And about, pick a marginalization, but then to be like, but we are so progressive as a family. We're literally not.
Right.
Sorry about it, Betty.
Well, it was like the day that she said, I knew something was up when my son started using pronouns. And I was like,
bitch.
Everyone uses pronouns.
You just said, I knew. And guess what? I, bitch, is a motherfucking pronoun. So you use pronouns. I know. I love it.
But I was saying to Sheila, I was like, can you imagine a conversation without pronouns? What do you just like jerk your head at someone? So when... And point your head at them.
Or just use their name.
So when that person there...
Yeah, but that happened when someone's androgynous and people are talking to them or about them, they never say he or she. Well, and back in the day, no one ever did. They would be like, how is Johnny? Johnny is good today. How's Johnny doing? You know what I mean? They would use their name strictly. Or you. But they could never say he or she because they wouldn't know.
Right.
And instead of just being like, what are you? Because that will get you socked. You just use their name.
Right. I saw John say, John seems to be doing good. John. Yeah.
John?
I know.
John.
Yeah.
John. Yeah. Cute.
Yes, I know. So listen, on a more serious note. I have a serious note. We have... You've got mail.
Oh my god, exciting.
Yeah. Well, it's been a while since we've heard from our friend Lori Lee.
Oh, yeah.
And she wrote us a very serious email, which I would like to share with you.
Okay.
So put on your serious hat.
Oh, no.
Serious. Because it's serious. I was going to write this last week, but I knew you were having a tough week leading up to saying goodbye to Annabelle. It's been a rough year for the fur babies, has it not? Mm-hmm. This is number 3.
Yeah, for our little property.
Yeah, for our little complex here. Hugs to you. Now on to politics. When hearing of the massacre by Hamas against Jewish settlements and the atrocities inflicted on innocents, I posted a I Stand with Jerusalem message. I have since taken it down due to the relentless attack on the Gaza Strip. The Palestinian people, mostly children, have been boxed in this small area since the 40s. Mm-hmm. Humans are like army ants, always trying to take over someone else's hill. The Palestinians and Israelis need to have 2 states or learn to live together in a combined area.
Yep.
Which is probably never going to happen. I do not think speaking for Palestinians is anti-Semitic, just as standing against Hamas is not anti-Palestinian. Due to the rising hate here in the U.S. against both the Jewish community and the Arab community, I would rather you not read this on... Oh, well, sorry. Sorry, Lori, I didn't read the whole thing until just now. Well, sorry.
Yeah.
I apologize. The world seems to be sitting on a powder keg. You would never know what could give someone an excuse to act out and light that fuse. I am still a loyal listener. Vesta makes me laugh when it comes to family stories. You both give me food for thought, and I do like the Am I an Asshole segment. All for now, Lori Lee. Well, Lori Lee, I'm sorry I didn't read it before I read it on the air, so I apologize for that.
Proofreading it.
But, we're not going to give anyone your address in Cucamonga.
Yeah, Rancho Cucamonga.
California. To tell them where to come get you.
Super close.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Thank you for writing to us.
Yeah, I love it.
And thank you for actually engaging
and
taking a stand in a with a not popular.
Also, we were talking about you, and we hope you're well, and we miss you, and listening, and talking, and writing. So thank you for writing. It's been great.
Yeah.
That's also, look, October has been a shit fucking month, which is sad because it's like my favorite, but it's been very challenging. First and foremost, Palestine and Israel, this conflict hasn't been going on. It's been going on, since the 40s, 1948. So almost 80 years of occupation. And initially, the whole split, when that was all decided, that the country of Palestine would become Israel, was then they were going to do a partition like India did with Pakistan, I think, because Pakistan and India used to be one country, and then they had a partition. So a country was partitioned off, and that became Pakistan. I could be wrong, it might not be Pakistan, but you get what I'm saying. They partitioned it, turned it into another country. It still exists today. But so Pakistanis and Indian people are very similar in relation because they were the same people until British people said, we're partitioning this off and taking it, or whatever. Okay. Whatever the case may be. But there was technically supposed to be partitions between Palestinians and Israelis. But it obviously doesn't last. And it's a lot, and it's been weighing heavy on me a lot, and I'm in my last class for school, which is like feminism and social media, but because #FreePalestine is everywhere, it's becoming a huge part of my class. But we're looking at it through a feminist lens, and what that really means is looking at it through what it means to be equal, looking at it through equality, and there's literally nothing that's happening right now that is equal. Israel is a militarized state that is backed by the Western countries, the United States and the UK. And Palestine is an oppressed people. The Palestinians, specifically in the Gaza Strip and West Bank, they are the oppressed, right? They are the colonized. They don't have a military. And Hamas is like we've talked about before, is like the government of the Gaza Strip. And yes, horrific things, right? They've done horrific things. And I'm not here to justify it, and I would condemn Hamas as well, along with Israel, right? But imagine if you lived someplace and someone occupied your land for 80 years and kept pushing you out and killing you. Are you not going to retaliate?
Yeah.
People do.
And Palestinians are not free to travel around the country.
No, and getting into Palestine.
You have to. One of the things I learned is that you have to apply to just be able to travel.
Yeah, and I wouldn't want to go anywhere.
Whereas if you're an Israeli, you do not have to.
No, of course not. But it's like violent bloodshed, and there have been people who are like Israeli politicians. I don't know what they're called. I know they have a president, but I don't know what else they have, right? Because I'm dumb on that kind of front. But just basically not equating Israeli people with Palestinian people. Like they're not the same. Like Palestinians asked for this, you know what I mean? And Israelis didn't, and this is their homeland. And I just would further push the question, like, is this religious or is this political? Because it's wrong either way, right? Because if it's religious and you're saying that this good book told you that, Palestine was the Jewish homeland, I just feel like, how far back are we going? Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, are we going 5,000 years ago? Because I wrote about this in a paper recently, but Palestine has been controlled by the Greeks, by the Romans, by the Byzantines, by the Akkadians, by the Babylonians. Do you know what I mean? So, it wasn't even an issue between like Muslim and Jewish people, because Islam was created 1,000 years ago. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like not that long ago, comparatively. And so it is, in my perspective, because since it's Zionist, which is a political movement, this is political based. And what the scariest part, though, are the people who are fed up with what Israel is doing. Meaning what countries, which are all the Arab nations that surround Israel. Because if you look at a map, Palestine is on the Mediterranean Sea. Yes. But it's on like the furthest eastern side, right? Every other nation around that is an Arab nation, right? Which is often, they're Islamic, whatever. But you're going to try and turn Israel into a Jewish homeland surrounded by Muslim people, Arab people who are, and you're killing their people. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're killing other Arabs. And, like, there's a lot of interrelation. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times when Israel is pushing people out of Palestine, they're pushing them to, like, Lebanon. So a lot of Lebanese people and Palestinians are very close in relation. My point is, Saudi Arabia and Iran recently talked and said enough is enough, and they hate each other. You know what I mean? I think it's Iran, or maybe Saudi Arabia went to China and talked to their, again, president, king, I don't know what they have. Emperor, who knows? Again, foreign politics is not my thing. But all of these countries that are known to not usually stand with the United States are like, enough is enough. And I don't know if you've heard of BRICS, which is with Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Okay. That's like the opposite of what the United States has with like the US and the UK and France, whatever. Canada, whoever it is. But they're all kind of sick of it. And so the countries that have condemned Israel is not only growing, but it's also a lot of the people who like often stand against the West, which is, it's going to be intense. So is this the fight for fucking the Holy Land going to be World War III? The West versus the East? Like, bitch, and I don't stand with the West. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm not here being pro-Israel. If Jewish people want a homeland, have a homeland, but you need to be able to integrate, bitch. You can't... Creating entire nations for solely a religious or cultural purpose is terrifying, especially now. You know what I mean? Yes. Look at history of the world. Colonization, look what it's done to people. And I don't stand with you because you're wrong, but, like, I'm confused at your actions because you're Jewish. Because you, your parents, your grandparents, your ancestors survived, if they survived, one of the most gross atrocities in recorded history.
11 million of them did not survive.
Exactly. And so now you were told by the British that this gets to be your fucking homeland, and now you're going to go and do very similar actions to another group of people. Yeah. It doesn't make any sense.
No, and it doesn't. And one of the things that I was talking to someone about yesterday, who's very politically aware, more so than I have ever been, because I said, here's what I have been told, was that on October 7th, when this invasion happened of
Hamas to Israel,
that they went into Israel, went into the kibbutzes, went into all these places and killed all these people and blah, blah, blah. And she said, and now many of those reports are being
they were like falsified,
being discovered that they were false. Yeah, that is not true. And so, yes, that was all reported, but a lot of it apparently was being reported as a way to say, well, we had to retaliate. Yeah. Because it wasn't, but it wasn't actually true. Yeah. And so, it's just another way for the whole thing to just.
And I think it's really important to keep saying that this did not start on October 7th.
No,
this
of course
has been
not.
Going on for 80 years, right? It's a lot. And, I have a problem. When they say, like, don't meet your heroes because they'll disappoint you or whatever. I'm having an issue just seeing people who are just taking their platform to be like pro-Israel or like I stand with Israel without actually like looking at what's happening, because you're standing with people who are actively participating in genocide. And like that has nothing to do with them being Jewish. Do you know what I mean? But people who support Israel will turn around and just want to call me anti-Semitic because of that, right? Yes. But I'm against full-on genocide. You know what I mean? Absolutely. And I have been critical of a lot of governments. I've been critical of the United States since I was in high school. You know what I mean? Right. I don't hate all Americans. Like, I love you, bitch. You're an American. I love people, right? But, like, the fact that we're going to use that as a scapegoat, like, we can't say anything critical of your state because most of you are Jewish, or that's your culture or religion is Judaism. Like, that's not my reason for saying that you're wrong. Right. But it doesn't make sense.
That's like saying, if you tell someone who is black that you have done something fucked up, that you're anti-black or that you're racist.
Right.
Like, no, I'm saying you specifically, you person, are fucked up. or this group that you're in is fucked up. I'm not saying all.
No.
Or, it's like, but that's just exactly it. You can say, I'm sorry, but this action.
Yeah.
This particular course of action is not okay. Yeah. And in this case, this course of action that's been going on for decades is fucked up.
Yeah.
And this course of action I'm sorry, it's been going on for 80 years. Can you not see that there is no way for anyone to win?
Yeah, right.
What needs to happen, because I can solve it.
Right.
I mean, nobody else has been able to for 80 years, but I can.
Yeah. You tell me, girl.
Aren't you ready?
Yeah, tell me what they need to do.
All
they need to do.
Because I've got this.
Yeah.
So listen, you take Israel.
Okay.
Just split it down the middle, north and south.
Oh, love.
And tell all of the all the Jews.
Yeah.
It's like you get to have the northern half. Yeah. Tell all the Palestinians you get to have the southern half. And build a fucking wall.
Build the wall.
Build the wall.
Yeah.
No, and just say, like, listen, here's your half. Leave each other alone.
Yeah. I know, because my question is...
But then, they'd be like, but we want the southern half. Well, no one's ever going to be happy.
No.
That's just it. It's like, well, but we want all of it.
Yeah.
You can't have all of it.
You know what, though? And that's the thing, too. If it is like the whole, well, God said this is the Jewish homeland, a lot of people have used God...
Yes.
Manifest destiny, which is what happened in the United States with,
yes.
We get to move west, we get to take this land because God said, the divine right of kings, right? Which is where kings were, your divine right because your lineage is to a God.
Right.
That's insane.
That sounds very suspiciously close to the nonsense that Trump has been spewing about why he stole all of those documents. Because it's like, well, as president, that's my right.
Yeah,
it was my right as president to take all of those classified documents. It's presidential right.
Yeah.
No.
Well, okay, and I need to say something specifically because I have Jewish people that I love and adore and consider
as
family. Right. I've seen, and nobody that you would know or whatever, but I've seen people that I've known who are Jewish post things that it's really hard to live in a world that calls for your eradication. And I said, I didn't say anything to this, but I was thinking, yes, it is. But Jewish people have been the scapegoat, have been the butt of the joke, have been targeted throughout history.
Yes.
This situation in Israel and Palestine is not the T-bitch. This is not one of those situations. Right. This is where Israel has the upper fucking hand. So you can't be the oppressed person with the upper hand in the same context. Right. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
That doesn't make sense.
Right. Because you actually have an organized military. Whereas Palestine does not.
Does not.
No.
Right.
They have this terrorist organization, and they have people who will stand up and fight, but they're not organized, and they are, they are being beaten, they are being held, they are being held captive, they are being treated like prisoners and whatever. It's like they can't really win. This fight will continue because it's guerrilla warfare.
100%.
However, you have the upper hand.
Yeah.
Agreed. And did you know, I mean, you probably know because you're smarter than me, but everyone, man and woman, when they turn 18, has to serve in the military.
Or go to prison.
Yeah.
And I was watching TikToks today, people being like, hi, my name is so-and-so, I'm 19 years old, and I've served this many days in prison because I refused to join the Israeli army. And I was like, holy shit. That, bitch, do your thing. One thing I think is interesting is, the land, Palestine, the land that's being fought over is the holy land for all Judeo-Christian Islamic religions.
Yes.
All of them. If you believe in Christ, if you read the Torah, if you read the Quran, that's where it is, bitch. It's in Palestine is the T. It's where Jesus was born. It's where he was resurrected. All of this. You want to forcibly take the land and cover it in blood, and we think that that's a good idea. You want your holy land to be drenched in the blood of others? That to me is in-fucking sane.
All as a tribute to this God but how much bloodshed has happened in the name of God in the history of the world?
Oh my God, so much.
Yeah, so much, because it's well, God told me this, or God said, and I'm sorry, you're not a Christian, I have to kill you. You're not going to follow the ways of my religion, I have to kill you.
You're dead now.
It's like, this has been going on forever.
Yeah.
And it's just, that's the thing for me where I hate most religion.
Oh,
because it's like, religion has caused more problems than it has solved.
Yes, girl.
It's like, if you look through the year, like Henry VIII, he was like, this religion that has been the religion of England for all these years is telling me I can't marry my 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th wife, whatever. So I'm going to start a new religion and, kind of fuck you all. And then I might have to kill some wives so I can marry some new ones.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah. But it was like, once he did that, the people who would not change religions was like, well, we'll just kill them.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you don't want to be in my new religion? Death.
Crazy. Yeah, crazy.
I'm sorry, I've just started this new religion called Christianity, and you can no longer do this pagan thing that you've been doing for centuries. Death. It's like, why? Why? I'm sorry. The whole idea to me that my belief system is different than yours, so mine is better, so you have to die.
Yeah, well, and even if yours is better, or mine is better, or who cares, because that's, again, contextual and by what you want, but why does someone else need to die? Right?
That's what I don't understand.
Right, if you were coming to harm me, and you were being a crazy person, and you were trying to kill me, I'd kill you. Sure, fine. But I'm not going to go and kill, like, every person that I meet of that religion.
No.
That's weird. That is weird behavior. And it just shows that you're afraid. Like, what are you, first of all, what are you afraid of?
Right, what are you afraid of?
And why are you so afraid?
Are you so weak in your belief that you have to squash everyone else who believes differently because of your insecurities? That doesn't make sense to me.
Nope.
And it's like, why can't you just believe what you believe?
Yeah.
And go, well, this is what I hold dear. Yeah. This is what gets me through the day. This is what I believe. And I would love to hear what you believe.
Oh, 100%.
Because that's how one of the things they taught us in beauty school, they said, don't ever talk about religion or politics with your clients. And I often talk about both.
Yep.
Because I will be like, listen, I want to hear what you have to say, and as long as you are open-minded.
Yeah.
Because if you say, this is this, and that's the end of the story, and if you say anything different, then fuck you.
Yeah.
And, whatever, then I'm not interested.
Yeah.
But if you say, hey, that's an interesting point of view, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Here's what I think.
Yep.
Then I'm cool with that.
Yep.
Unfortunately, most of that has ended with the onset of the Trump disease. Because most people who are Trumplicans can't even hear
anything else.
And to be fair, most people on the other side, once they say, well, Trump, it's like, I can't hear anything you say.
And if someone says Trump, and honestly, I'm a victim of it, if someone says they voted for Trump to me, they feel like an enemy. Do you know what I mean? Immediately. I feel like you voted for the revoking of rights for lots of people. You voted for violence. You voted for... You know what I mean? Hatred. Like, that's what you voted for. And for an ignorant piece of shit. I mean, clearly he wasn't that ignorant. He did the thing.
Yeah. But that's kind of, to me, where you can have a different opinion kind of ended. But for the most part.
Yeah.
And for religion, it's like, I had a friend recently tell me, and I know I told you this, that a queer woman who I've known for many years, that she's become a Mormon in her old age. And I'm all... I would really love to hear more about that.
Yeah, honestly, same.
But it's like, religion to me is very interesting.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine it's like, well, that's not what I believe, so I can't hear what you have to say, or I need to kill you because it's different. I don't understand why there is that need for everyone to believe the same thing. I don't care if people believe what I believe. I don't care if, because I believe in ghosts, you have to believe it. Because I believe in whatever, everyone has to believe like I believe. It's like, no.
No, girl. No. And, I have a couple things to say. One of them is going
That's
back
unusual.
to, I know, right? Going back to, like, religion and what it's done to the world, and how, like, so many wars have been fought over it. But also, that's how the colonization of the Americas has started. When the, like, pilgrims came here, that whole ideology was for religious freedom. Because they needed... Because what they believed and what was happening in England was not the tea. They didn't coincide. So they were, like, ran out, essentially, and they came here because they were like, well, no one's there. Little day now. Right. But it was for religious freedom, right? And so that's why the United States is based in, like, there can be no national religion. You have religious freedom from religion. You don't have to be religious.
Freedom of and freedom from.
Both, yes.
Or that was the idea anyway.
Yeah, but I mean, also, I don't care. Let people be as Christian ignorant as they want to be. You know what I mean? Like, say what you need to say. It's not going... It's going to just make me either be like, oh, you're one of the good ones, or I'm going to be like, trash. Because... it is just trash. So I think religion, in itself, human beings they have a hard time being able to, like, integrate things. Look at any time we've had to integrate literally anything. Look at when we had to integrate black people and white people. That still hasn't been successful. No. Do you know what I mean?
No.
And so we have, and part of it's great. On the other hand, it's a piece of shit. But, like, we can't function without compartmentalizing people, without putting people in categories. And I think the more you can just split it down into 2 categories, the easier for people to process. So if it's us and them, right? So, and it's like and I'm going to use religions. This is not saying anything about the religion because I don't know who hates who and I don't care, right? Mm-hmm. Because I have no skin in this game because I'm not religious whatsoever. Right. But let's say it's like Baptists. They only like the people within their congregation, within their faith, whatever. So, like, every other religion outside of that is them. That's a lot of fucking people. But religion is supposed to be what helps you understand or know what's going to happen after you die, right? It's going to help you get to a place. Right. It's going to help you live a good life, X, Y, and Z, allegedly. But there have been all the versions of different holy texts or the different religions that sprout up, that start as cults or whatever, which all religions started as cults, so let's not get crazy. They all... No, I forgot. They started in cults. Why did they start soul religion? I
don't know. Did your little brain just shut down?
Yeah, it just shut down. I was looking at your dog outside. I forgot what I was saying about religion.
I don't know.
Whatever.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I hate it when that happens.
Me too. Whatever. Religion, they just all hate each other. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, listen.
Well, and considering how close they are, why do you hate each other?
Yeah.
Especially the ones that are based in the same area, same deities, same holy people. I don't get it.
Yeah.
Why do you hate each other?
I don't know.
It doesn't make any sense.
I don't know, but then there's that church, and right now I can't even remember what they're called. The one that protests everybody.
The Westboro Baptist
Church. And they protest everybody. They hate everybody.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, what Bible are you reading?
Yeah.
That you
only
hate
the Old Testament.
Everyone.
Only
and
the Old Testament.
You know, it's like you protest everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like all you preach is hatred.
Yeah.
I think you're reading the wrong book. I mean,
Girl.
I don't know.
Honestly.
I mean, listen. But you were talking about the folks that came to America.
Yeah.
You know, pretending that they were here for freedom from religion or whatever. And then I wanted to share my little joke that I made up the other day with you, which is only funny because it's true. Is what's the difference between pirates and colonizers?
Tell me.
That pirates at least were honest with their intentions.
Yeah, and I love that. When you said that to me, that was so good. I love it so much.
Because their intentions, by the way, are exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
But pirates, you know, they at least were honest about it. It's like, yeah, we're going to rape. Mm-hmm. We're going to pillage.
Yeah.
You know.
We're going to take everything.
Yeah.
That is yours, that's mine.
Yeah. You know how you think all this stuff belongs to you?
Mm-hmm.
Nope.
None of it.
That's cute. Because I want your land.
Uh-huh.
I want your women. I want your stuff.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. It's all cute, but it's now all mine.
But I don't want you.
Oh, I'm sorry. You don't like it? Death.
Dead, yeah. And
so, fuck off. I'm taking your shit.
Fuck yourself. Yeah, honestly.
Yeah.
That's so true. I mean, I wish I could meet a pirate. A real pirate. Do pirates... Well, pirates do exist still.
Now there's... Yeah, because there's still, like, the Somali pirates.
Somali pirates, yeah. I don't know what other pirates exist. Those are the only ones that I know of. But it's not the same. They're not wearing eye patches. They don't have long hair and pirate hats. You know what I mean?
They're not Johnny Depp in...
No, they're driving, like, speedboats. And I want them to throw up their sails and go, yo-ho, yo-ho.
Unfortunately, they will kill you faster than anything.
Honestly. And I don't want that.
When we went to Salem, Mass, I didn't know this, because so much history I don't know, because, well, they don't really teach you that much history. They teach you, like... the crap about, these people were the founding fathers and blah, blah, blah. I did just learn the other day that 8 of the first 10 presidents of the United States owned slaves. John Adams and John Quincy Adams were the only 2 who did not.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Weird.
But what I learned when we were in Salem was that the East Coast was plagued with pirates.
That's crazy.
Which I didn't know, because I mean...
I guess that makes sense.
It does make sense.
Yeah.
But...
you never hear about it.
No, because you think about it, like, you see pirate movies and hear stories, and you think about that being kind of more of a fairy tale thing, or being, like, in the Caribbean, because of the Pirates of the Caribbean, or whatever.
Yeah.
But it was like, But all of those ships coming from England, coming to America.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, also, I'm sorry, do you not remember the movie The Goonies? They found a whole pirate ship in One-Eyed Willie. Remember?
In Astoria.
In Oregon.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? I mean, I wonder. The history of Oregon is interesting to me, but mostly who was immigrating here. Because I think there were a lot of, like, Japanese and Chinese people coming the other way. Through the Pacific opposed to...
Oh, yeah.
Which would make more sense if you're sailing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Interesting, though, right?
Interesting.
Cross there. I know.
Yeah.
I know. What a time.
So, by the time this airs, there's going to be a couple things happening.
Oh, happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Today
is Halloween.
Yeah.
But when this airs, Halloween will be over, and it'll be Day of the Dead.
Dia de los Muertos.
And it'll also be the first day of Indigenous Heritage Month.
Yeah.
So happy Dia de los Muertos.
Happy.
So for just a few minutes here, we want to talk a little bit about that. So one of the things that I think is super cool about the Day of the Dead is that in a lot of Latin culture, they celebrate that. And what the celebration really is just celebrating folks who have passed, loved ones, and they... in a lot of their celebrations, like, will bring out their photographs, talk about them, tell stories, make their favorite foods, and give up some kind of offering to the gods, whatever. And I love that. I think that's really sweet.
Yeah.
Because that way you're keeping their memories alive. And a really great way to kind of introduce that to younger people is the movie Coco, which that movie kills me.
Dead.
I have seen that movie so many times, and every time I weep like a baby.
I know, it's really good.
The end of it just literally makes me ugly cry, because it is so sweet and wonderful. But I love the idea of that, because if you're not telling the stories of the folks who've passed, then they do disappear. They do,
Yeah.
And so... that we wanted to just kind of touch on that just a little bit, because we've had some pretty wonderful people in our lives who are no longer with us. And one of the people I wanted to talk about just a little bit was my grandmother. So all my grandparents are dead. Otherwise, they would be in their hundreds.
Yeah, they're early
They would be
hundreds.
super old. My grandfather on my father's side, I never met, so I didn't know anything about him, other than he apparently was not a great person, much like my father. My grandmother on my father's side, I knew a bit. She was bipolar and schizophrenic. So
Grandma Grace.
Grandma Grace. So she was a character.
Yeah.
But the grandma and my grandfather on my mother's side was a horrible, horrible man.
Yeah.
But my grandmother on my mother's side, I loved dearly.
Was a brassy old lady.
She was. Oh my gosh, she was so funny. And she was, I don't know, she was the one who got my love of gossip from. So when I was a kid, we would go to my grandma's house. And I always felt very lucky that I was allowed to just sit at the kitchen table with the grown-ups.
Yeah.
And we would play Yahtzee. And the adults would talk.
Yeah.
And my mother and my grandmother would gossip about family members.
Okay.
And so, but I would just soak it all in. Because I wouldn't join in because I didn't know any of these people.
Sure.
But I would just listen.
Yeah.
So I would hear all the, like, who did what to who.
I love
and all that. My grandmother also, though, was not what most people think of a grandma.
Yeah.
Because she was drinking, smoking, cursing, hunting, fishing, you know.
Yep.
She wasn't in the kitchen baking cookies. Giving warm grandma hugs. No, that was not her.
I love it.
And the funny thing is I realized not that long ago that in my entire life, I don't think she ever said I love you.
Really?
But I knew she loved me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I don't think she ever hugged me.
Weird.
Yeah.
That is weird.
That was just not her.
Yeah.
Her love language was none of those things.
Yeah.
But I knew she loved me.
Yeah.
You know, and I adored her.
I have that one picture with, it's me and her and my cousin Erin.
Yes.
I'm a tiny baby. But she's sitting on the couch behind me, glasses, fucking smoking a cigarette. And I'm like, yeah. And it's because, you know, she died when I was like 3.
Yeah.
92? Yeah. So I don't really remember a lot.
Yeah, you had just turned 3.
So I don't really, I do, this is, because people are like, oh, I don't remember anything under the age of whatever. But, like, I remember being at her house and her still being alive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't remember a lot of it. But I remember playing with troll dolls at her house that she had on the bottom shelf that kids could play with. And so, like, that's what I remember. Isn't that, so, I mean, obviously the thing that I did there.
Well, that's, you know, because in her living room, she had, like, this whole... it was a pony wall. Yeah. It was all shelves.
Yeah.
And all the shelves full of knickknacks.
I love that. But
the bottom, or tchotchkes, you know, whatever you want to call them, but the bottom shelf on the right was the stuff we could touch.
Yeah.
And what was kind of funny is that we were allowed to dust her shelves. That was okay. You could dust those shelves. But only the bottom one could we actually, like, play with the stuff on the shelf. And it was like troll dolls. Yeah. And there was this one old cowboy doll.
Okay.
That by the time that cowboy doll was worse for the wear. He's like missing a hand.
How cute.
His joints didn't work because he was sitting on the shelf, and so his joints worked.
Yeah.
They didn't work so well, but the little rubber bands and his joints were kind of loose. And
he was
sad,
very ragdoll.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I know. So the movie Coco is beautiful, and I do think people should watch it. I also love the tradition in like Latinx cultures about having an ofrenda, which is like a shelf or like a cupboard, like a china cabinet, a cabinet. But you keep, you know, trinkets or pictures or urns or whatever of your loved ones. And so I really love that. And I would love to have a little thing because, you know, I have a lot of dead in my life. And I have a lot of, like, keepsakes from people who've died.
Yeah.
And so it'd be really cute to be able to have them somewhere. But yeah, it's funny because my only living grandparent is your mother. And my other grandparents, I didn't really know a whole lot. You know what I mean? And so like, when they died, sure, I think I was sad, but I don't really remember them. You know what I mean? I don't have a lot of like fond memories or bad memories. I just don't have the memories. Just very kind of, here's your grandpa. But they were old people, and I don't feel like, you know what I mean? My other grandparents were old people.
Of course.
And your mother would never felt like an old people to me, especially growing up, you know? And then, you know, the man she married, who was my grandfather, I didn't know at all until he had a heart attack. Or stroke, whatever he had. Right.
Well, you're actually kind of lucky that you didn't know him.
Yeah, barely.
Until then, because... Well, how old were you? You were a teenager when he died.
Yeah. So, I think I was 16 or 17. I think I had moved to Portland when he died. Yeah.
You lived
okay, so I was about 17. But the only thing I remember about Grandpa Jack when I was a kid was him coming to take Grandma out for dinner and he would always take her to buy oysters, and he would buy her amethyst jewelry. And going to his house with my biological father, and he would show us his saws because he worked at the sawmill. Right?
Okay.
And he would smoke cigarettes and drink Jack Daniels and Pepsi.
Ugh.
Yeah, girl. That's and wear like flannel jackets. That's literally the only thing I remember about him.
So he is. I'm gonna say, I don't think a lot of people get to rewrite their, like their ending of their story.
Yeah.
I hated that man.
Yeah.
Hate with a capital H. And I don't hate very many people.
Sure.
I mean, I don't. And now that I'm old, I just don't have the energy to hate people. Because I can't be bothered.
I don't care.
I really, I don't care. I can't be bothered. But growing up with him, I hated him. He was an awful human being. He was the most racist person I've ever met. Anyway, when he was 60, I think, he was in the late 50s, early 60s, he had a heart attack. And it turns out, by the time he had his heart attack, he had already started developing dementia. But the heart attack kind of pushed everything to the forefront.
Yeah.
And so he then went to live in a senior living facility. And what's funny is he was the angriest, just most horrible man I'd ever known. And he was angry at God. Because when he was 14, his mom died of cancer. When he was 22, his dad died working under a car, and the car fell on him. And
I knew that, though.
He was mad at God for taking his parents.
Yeah.
And he started drinking. And he never stopped drinking.
Got it.
Well, and he never could have that, like, I'm mad at you conversation with God.
Sure.
Because, God's not going to talk back to him and go, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Let's, have this out. Well, when he had the heart attack and dementia went full force, he, one, had to stop drinking. Because he was in a home now. But two, he forgot he was mad. And so he became this just kind old man who I was all, who's this guy?
Who the fuck are you? Yeah.
Because he was nice and he was funny.
Yeah.
And I was like, where were you all my growing up years? And so, like, he would make jokes and I was like, oh my God, if I'd had this guy growing up, I would have liked him.
Well, because how old were you when he came around? Little.
I was little. I was 2.
Because when was BJ born?
So he was there from the time I was 2 until he and my mother divorced when I was
17?
15 or 16.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But then he was around, peripherally after that. But,
Crazy.
the dementia made him like a better human.
Yeah.
And so at the end of his life, he got to change everything and make everybody love him.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Which I thought was awesome.
It was. And then, but his children barely showed up. You know what I mean? His, biological children barely showed up.
What's interesting to me, though, about dementia is when it happened, he thought it was 1965.
Of course.
And that he and my mother were just married. And that they lived in their first house out in Beaverton. Okay. Which would have meant that they didn't have children yet.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
But then his grown children came to visit him in the hospital. Yeah. With their grown children. Yeah. And his brain was like, okay.
Yep, that's fine.
Yeah, these are my grown sons. These are my grandchildren.
Yeah.
But it's still 1965.
Yeah, weird.
And I'm like, your brain just goes, okay.
You get to have whatever.
It's all true.
Yeah. It's
and
crazy.
And that to me is, because my brain is fully functioning.
It's terrifying.
I can't understand how, those neural pathways just go, okay, we'll accept all of this as true. Yeah. Yeah, that was crazy.
Crazy. I know he was a very nice woman, because again, that's the only time I really got to know him, was after that, and we would play cards and eat chocolate, and he was the night who would tell stories. It was weird, because I only grew up hearing the shit stories about him, and I barely knew him, so, I knew all that to be true. So when he was different, it was all weird.
Yeah. Well, so right after it happened, after he got out of the hospital, my mother called me and said, because we were going to do Thanksgiving at my house. It was just a limited amount of people, but my cousins were coming and whatever. And she said, I'm going to bring Jack to your house for Thanksgiving. I was like, what? Are you high? What drugs have you taken? And she goes, no. I'm going to bring him to your house, and, it's okay. He's different. I was like, a different person? You know, a different Jack?
Is this a different Jack?
Jack Sparrow?
Jack Nicholson?
Right. Who are you bringing? So she brought him to my house, and he sat at the table and played cards with us. And at one point, my cousin's husband, he and my cousin's husband were talking about his job, about Jack's job. And he's talking in great detail, because he'd done the same job forever.
8,000 years.
Yeah. And so he's like talking in great detail about everything that he did and whatever. And Cody, the husband of my cousin Angela, was like, oh, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And they're talking back and forth. And I looked at my other cousin, Amy, and just kind of, because she knew what was going on. She knew that he was no longer, and he was in the hospital. Cody had no idea. And I just kind of smiled at her. And he saw that, and he goes, oh, you know, I think we should probably change the subject, because I think that the women are kind of getting bored with our conversation. I was like, who are you?
Yeah, what in the fuck is happening?
And Angela's children were littler.
Yeah.
And her son was, like, running around, and, like, he kept, he was fascinated by Jack, and he kept kind of coming around and, like, trying to poke at him.
Yeah.
And to get him to pay attention to him. And he played with him, and I was like, am I drunk?
Yeah. Am I dead?
Right.
Is this
what
a stroke?
has happened to me that I don't even know this person?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy.
That's so
And I
weird.
just was like, wow.
Yeah.
This is amazing.
I mean, I only imagine, like, if that happened to BJ. Like, my biological father. Do you know what I mean? Like, if sometime he has, God forbid, whatever, a stroke or a heart attack, and he's different, that'd be super weird to me. That'd be just mind-boggling to me.
Yeah, but since his source of anger is just his entire life, who knows?
Well, and also his isn't based off an addiction. His is just
anger.
Well, anger and, like, mental disablement, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. I guess I didn't know that story. And I guess I didn't know so much. I didn't know that he was been around in your life since you were 2. So you were kind of... Did you think he was your dad?
No.
No, you never thought so. Okay.
No, and what's kind of funny about that is he also held no authority in my life. Because even though I grew up with him, he would say stupid things like, if we were doing something dumb, and which we should have been in trouble for, well, he would ground us forever.
Oh.
Or he would ground us for a year.
Oh, good.
It's like always something dumb. Because he was always drunk. And it was like, well, you're grounded for the next 6 months. And it's like, and my mother would always go, okay, you're not. But whatever. Or she would say, yeah, don't listen to anything he says.
Yeah.
So he immediately had no authority.
I love that.
And so we never thought of him as an authority figure.
Yeah.
So it just, immediately he was just the guy that lived there that was married to my mother. He, like, zero authority.
That is so funny to me. Because that was literally my stepmom, Joanna. That was literally her. The moment, never once could she punish me. And I said, try me. You know what I mean?
Right. What are you going to do?
Yeah. I remember also being, like, in my own little warped head as a child, being like, just get her to hit you one time. Just get her to hit you one time. That's all you need. And, like... she never did, though. She never once hit me, and I said, that's for the best, bitch, because people will kill you dead. But yeah, going back to death, and it's funny, talking about grandparents, we're on that kick. My maternal grandmother, her name was Loretta, and she was, like, a big woman. She was taller than my grandfather. She's taller than all of her children. Like, she was, like, 5'10", you know? And she was born in, like, 1928 or something, 1938, I can't remember. But she had a stroke the same year I was born.
Okay.
I think the same month I was born. So I was the only one in the entire family who never knew my grandma Loretta as a person who could walk and talk.
Okay.
Which is weird. And my cousins and my brothers had a really good relationship with her. Loved her. And my cousin Ernest, it hurt him the most because they were really close. Which was weird to me because I, again, didn't know her other than being wheelchair bound. So she had a stroke, and I remember going to see her, and seeing her was actually kind of great because she could say yes and no, I don't know, and she could say oh shit. And so it was always fun to tell.
So for a kid, that would be a blast.
Yeah, because it was always fun to tell her stories because anytime you'd get to a moment where something happened that maybe it was exciting or the climax, she would go, oh shit. And I'd be all, that is the perfect response. It's so good. But I just remember she was And she knew who was... Oh, and she could say, okay. Yes, no, okay, I don't know, and oh shit. But in that was the first time ever experiencing somebody who was, like, functioning, but was unable to communicate.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, she was coherent. When my grandfather died, I remember my biological mom telling her, and I was there, and she said, Daddy's dead, whatever. And my grandma knew. She cried. Mm. You know what I mean? Yeah. She was upset, and then she said, okay, a billion times. But yeah, so that was really interesting to me because I was like, she knows what's happening. Yeah. She knows everything that's going on around her. But she can't tell you. She can't talk about it. Yeah. And that was really weird. And so it was strange. And I mean, again, I wasn't close with any of my grandparents other than the one who raised me. You know what I mean? And so I didn't really know them. But Death Girl. Yeah. And remembering the dead.
When you talk about that, my only experience with that was with Becky, my father's last wife. Yeah. Or not last wife, because he married some other woman who I never met. But the mother of my sisters.
Yeah.
Who, frankly, I mourned more than the loss of my father. Because I really liked Becky. But when she, towards the end of her life, her vocabulary was limited. And she was there, but she had trouble saying things. Yeah. And I know we've talked about that before. And Parker still loves the story. That she was calling all the males grandpa. Yeah. So as a little boy, when she kept calling him grandpa, and he was like 3.
Yeah, I love it.
He thought it was hilarious.
It's so funny.
Yeah. But she was one of the people who, like, from the first moment I met her when I was 14. And she was very warm and welcoming.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, all of a sudden, this man that you're married to,
has 3 children.
That are teenagers that are now coming to your house. And what's interesting is, so the first time I went to their house, my father didn't make any kind of special arrangement. He didn't take time off work, nothing, to spend time with us. We were there for a week. Becky, on the other hand, took us around, showed us the sights, did all the things with us. Weird. And so Becky is the one who I bonded with.
Yeah. Sounds like Becky was your father.
Yeah, right? Yeah. And she's the one who I did things with, and she was the one who, like, whenever I went there, I would talk to and whatever. And so I really liked her. Whatever. And so when she had her stroke and she had the things, I was much more sad because she actually had a little bit of a relationship, and she was always very sweet to me, and so when she passed, I was much sadder about that. Because she was, again, I had more of a relationship. She made more of an effort than my father ever did.
Yeah, I get it.
And she wasn't even my family. I get that. There we are. So as you're celebrating if you celebrate Day of the Dead, and even if you don't, remember the people that you love who have passed. Say a little prayer for them, or whatever you do. Light a candle. Yeah. Put up their picture. Yeah. Say hello to them.
Yeah.
And remember them all through the year. I am going to just really quickly say, one of my friends who passed a long time ago, Willie. When they were little, when the kids would look at our wedding album, Grace would always ask me if Willie was my dad. Oh. Because Willie was a friend of mine who was he was an old black man. Yeah. And my daughter would always say, "Is this your dad?"
I love that.
I wish.
Yeah.
Because he was the first time I met him, I was in the mall. I was at Lloyd Center. And I had just made my hair blonde, and I'd done it at home, so it was terrible. Yeah. It was like really brassy. Oh. And I met him. He was the boyfriend of a friend of mine. And so they introduced me, and he was like, "Nice to meet you," and no, this is not your color.
Yeah.
I was like, wow. Nice to meet you too.
Fucker.
And we became fast friends after that because it was like, oh, someone else with no filter like me. Yeah. And so then we worked together. I worked with him at the end of his life and loved him dearly. Yeah. And whatever. So, but on that note, we're gonna get
good dad.
So next week, I'm gonna actually tell you what we're gonna talk about next week, because we're gonna talk about something, because it is Indigenous Peoples Month. So we're gonna talk about that next month. So not next month, next week. We're going to talk about Indigenous folks, because it is Indigenous History Month. And Yeah. So if you want to send us emails, please do. I almost said send us letters. You can do that too.
You can send us letters all you want.
Send us letters. But we'll be back next Wednesday for another episode of It Would Seem As Though. So, yeah.
Bye, bitch. Bye. See you later. Happy
It Would Seem As Though.